The glass shattered 3 inches from my left ear. I didn't flinch, didn't scream. I watched the cranberry juice spread across my grandmother's wallpaper like a slow-motion crime scene, and all I could think was, finally. "You selfish old woman." Jason's face was red, veins bulging in his neck like he'd just finished a marathon. My son, 34 years old, screaming at his mother on Thanksgiving Day because I wouldn't let his in-laws move into my house. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the hype button and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? Vanessa stood beside him, arms crossed, yoga-toned body radiating righteous indignation. "You don't deserve a son like him, after everything he's done for you." I smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind of smile you give someone when you've finally confirmed they're exactly who you suspected they were. I stood up slowly, smoothed my apron, and walked past them both to retrieve my phone from the counter. The turkey was burning. I could smell it. Nobody else seemed to care. I dialed Rachel. "Everything's just as you said," I told my sister, watching Jason's expression shift from rage to confusion. "Activate the plan." I ended the call, set the phone down, turned back to face them. "Now," I said calmly, "who wants pie?" The silence that followed was beautiful. Let me back up. 15 years ago, my husband Tom collapsed in our driveway while raking leaves. Massive heart attack. Gone before the ambulance arrived. Jason was 19, home from college for the weekend. He held my hand at the funeral and promised he'd take care of me. I believed him. I worked double shifts at the hospital, ER nurse, the kind who could start an IV in a moving ambulance and calm a hysterical parent in the same breath. I paid for Jason's education, paid for his first business attempt, a tech startup that folded in 8 months, paid for his second attempt, a consulting gig that barely covered his rent. Then Vanessa happened. She was 26 when they met, all white teeth and carefully curated Instagram posts about wellness and mindfulness. She taught yoga. She drank green smoothies. She called everyone babe and ended sentences with, "Manifest your truth." Jason changed within months, started talking about toxic family dynamics and setting boundaries, stopped calling unless he needed something. When I asked to meet Vanessa properly, he said she wasn't ready for that kind of pressure. They got married at a resort in Napa. I wasn't invited to the planning. I got a +1 like any other distant relative. The wedding cost $40,000. Jason asked me to chip in for the photographer. I wrote the check. That was 3 years ago. After the glass-throwing incident, after my phone call, after the pie question hung unanswered in the air, Jason did something interesting. He laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind of laugh men do when they're trying to regain control of a situation that's slipping away from them. "Mom, come on, don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic," I said. "I'm being specific. Your wife's parents need a place to stay. This is my house. The answer is no." Vanessa stepped forward, her voice dropping into what I'm sure she thought was a soothing register. "Nora, we're family. Family helps each other. My parents are going through a difficult time." "Your parents got evicted because they haven't paid rent in 6 months," I interrupted. "Rachel told me. She works for the city housing department. She sees every complaint, every filing. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Vanessa's perfect composure cracked for just a second, just long enough for me to see the calculation happening behind her eyes. "That's private information," Jason said. "Rachel had no right. Rachel had every right. She's my sister. She's also a public official doing her job. The information is part of the public record. Anyone can access it." I picked up a dish towel, started wiping down the counter. "Your in-laws are professional tenants, Jason. They move in, stop paying, wait for the eviction process to drag out, then move to the next place. It's a pattern. A long one." "You've been spying on us." Vanessa's voice climbed an octave. "No, sweetheart. I've been paying attention. There's a difference." Jason moved closer, and I saw something in his face I'd never seen before. Not anger, not frustration. Something colder. "This house is too big for you anyway," he said quietly. "You're getting older. You should think about downsizing. We could help you find a nice apartment, something manageable." Ah, there it was. The real agenda. I set down the dish towel. "Get out," I said. "Mum, get out." They didn't move. Jason's jaw tightened. Vanessa pulled out her phone, probably ready to document this moment of my unreasonable behavior for their future narrative. "Actually," I said, reconsidering, "stay. Have some turkey, have some pie. Stay as long as you need to tonight. We're family after all." The sudden shift confused them. I could see Jason trying to figure out the angle, the trap. There was no trap, not yet. I just needed them to feel safe. They stayed. We ate dinner in near silence, the tension thick enough to cut with the carving knife. Vanessa picked at her food, posting pictures to her Instagram story, with captions about grateful hearts and family blessings. Jason drank too much wine and kept glancing at me like I might explode. I didn't explode. I cleared plates. I served coffee. I played the role I'd been playing for 3 years. The accommodating mother, the supportive parent, the woman who'd learned to make herself smaller so her son could feel bigger. After they left, I went to my bedroom and retrieved a folder from the back of my closet. It was labeled Whitfield Trust in Rachel's precise handwriting. Inside were documents we'd been preparing for 6 months. Ever since the day Jason asked me, casually over lunch, if I'd ever considered adding his name to the house deed. "Just for estate planning purposes," he'd said. "Make things easier when the time comes." I'd smiled and said I'd think about it. Then I'd called Rachel. Rachel had worked in education for 30 years before switching to housing compliance. She understood bureaucracy the way surgeons understand anatomy. She knew which forms mattered, which laws had teeth, and which people could be convinced to look the other way when necessary. "They're going to push," she'd told me that day. "Jason's drowning in debt. I pulled his credit report. Vanessa's family is a disaster. They see your house as a solution. What do? You prepare, you document everything, and when they make their move, you show them exactly who they're dealing with." So we'd prepared. Now, sitting on my bed at midnight on Thanksgiving, I opened the folder and reviewed our work. Property assessments, financial records, legal precedents, a timeline of every loan I'd given Jason, every promise he'd broken, every conversation where he'd suggested I was becoming a burden. At the bottom of the folder was a single USB drive. On it, video recordings from the security cameras I'd installed 3 months ago. Tiny things, hidden in smoke detectors and picture frames, the kind of cameras concerned homeowners use to monitor for break-ins, the kind that also record conversations. I plugged the drive into my laptop and watched footage from earlier that evening. Jason and Vanessa in my kitchen after I'd gone to bed thinking I was asleep. "She'll cave," Vanessa was saying. "She always does. My parents can stay in the guest room, and once they're here, it'll be too awkward for her to kick them out." "What if she doesn't cave?" "Then we escalate. You're her only child, Jason. You're her weak spot. We just have to press hard enough." Jason nodded slowly. "She's been acting weird lately, distant. She's getting old, probably realizing how much she needs us." They both laughed. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, lay in the dark, thinking about the word escalate. They wanted escalation. I'd give them something better. I'd give them precision. Rachel arrived at 7 the next morning with coffee and a manila envelope. "You look terrible," she said, walking past me into the kitchen. "I didn't sleep." "Good. Means you're taking this seriously." She set the envelope on the counter. "Everything you need is in here. But first, tell me exactly what happened." I told her. The glass, the demands, the conversation I'd recorded. Rachel listened without interrupting, her face impassive. She'd always been the calm one, the rational one. Where I led with emotion, she led with logic. Growing up, we'd been an unstoppable team. She'd plan the revenge, I'd execute it. Some things never change. "They're moving faster than I expected," she said when I finished. "That's good for us. People make mistakes when they rush." "What's in the envelope?" She opened it, spread papers across my counter. "Compliance reports. Your house is flagged for inspection on Monday." "What? Why?" "Because I flagged it. Anonymous complaint about unpermitted renovations. The city takes those seriously." "Rachel, there haven't been any renovations." "I know, but Jason doesn't know that. And when the inspector comes and finds nothing, guess whose name is on the complaint form?" She tapped one of the papers. "I made sure the routing information points to an IP address that traces back to Jason's home office." I stared at her. "You framed him for filing a false complaint against his own mother's house." "I created a paper trail that suggests motivation for elder abuse. It's subtle, but it's there." She sipped her coffee. "Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to invite them to move in." "Are you insane?" "Temporarily. Just for a few days. Tell Jason you've been thinking about what he said, about the house being too big. Tell him you could use the company. Be vulnerable. Make him think he's won." "Why would I do that?" "Because we need them inside the house, Nora. We need documentation of their behavior. We need witnesses. And most importantly, we need them to feel safe enough to show their true colors." She pulled out another document. "This is a short-term occupancy agreement, very standard. It spells out the terms of their stay. Temporary, revocable at will, no tenant rights established. You'll ask them to sign it." "They won't." "They will. Because you're going to act defeated. You're going to cry a little. You're going to tell Jason you're scared of being alone in this big house. You're going to play exactly the role they already think you're playing." I felt sick. "I hate this." "I know, but manipulation only works when people underestimate you. Right now, they think you're weak. Let's keep it that way." She gathered the papers, slid them back into the envelope. "Remember what Dad used to say? Never start a war you haven't already won on paper." "Exactly." She squeezed my hand. "You've already won, Nora. They just don't know it yet." I called Jason that afternoon. "Honey," I said, letting my voice shake just slightly. "I'm sorry about yesterday. I overreacted." Silence on the other end. Then, "It's okay, Mom." "No, it's not. You were right. This house is too big. I've been lonely." I paused. "If your offer still stands, maybe you and Vanessa could stay for a while. Just until I figure things out." "Stay? At the house?" "If you want. I know it's an imposition." No, that actually works out perfectly. Vanessa's parents really do need a place. And if we're there, we can help coordinate everything. Of course, straight to the in-laws." "That would be wonderful," I lied. "When can you come?" "How about tomorrow?" "Perfect." I hung up and immediately texted Rachel. "Hook set." Her response: "Don't forget to cry when they arrive. Make it believable." They showed up Sunday morning with enough luggage for a month. Vanessa's parents arrived an hour later in a U-Haul. Barbara and Frank Caldwell were exactly what I'd expected. Late 60s, professionally pleasant, with the kind of entitled exhaustion that comes from decades of taking advantage of people's kindness. Barbara air-kissed me and called me Nora dear. Frank immediately asked where he should set up his model train collection. "The basement," I suggested. "Perfect." Jason and Vanessa took over the master bedroom. Didn't ask, just started moving their things in while I stood in the hallway with an armful of fresh towels. "Mum, you don't mind taking the guest room, right?" Jason barely looked at me. "It makes more sense. We have more stuff." "Of course," I said. "Whatever's easiest." I retreated to the smallest bedroom in the house, the one that used to be Jason's when he was a teenager. The walls still had marks where his posters had hung. I sat on the narrow bed and called Rachel. "They've taken over," I said quietly. "Good. Document everything. Take photos. Keep a journal. I need you to record every instance of them treating you like a guest in your own home. How long do I have to do this? 2 weeks. Maybe less if they're as bad as I think they'll be. They were worse. By Wednesday, Barbara had rearranged my entire kitchen. She claimed the old layout was inefficient. She donated half my dishes to Goodwill without asking and replaced them with her own set, cheap ceramic with a rooster pattern. Frank set up a workshop in the basement and started running power tools at 6 in the morning. Jason and Vanessa treated me like staff. They'd leave dirty dishes in the sink with a note. "Mum, can you handle these?" They'd ask me to pick up groceries, drive Vanessa to yoga class, watch Barbara's cat while the family went out to dinner. I wasn't invited to the dinners. Every night I'd retreat to my tiny room and write in a notebook Rachel had given me. She called it a gratitude journal when Jason asked about it. Really, it was evidence. Wednesday. Barbara threw out my mother's recipe box, said it was cluttering up the counter. I found it in the trash, coffee grounds soaked through the cards. Thursday. Vanessa changed the Wi-Fi password. Didn't tell me what it was. When I asked, she said she'd get around to it. Friday. Jason had friends over. They were loud until 2 a.m. When I came downstairs to ask them to quiet down, Jason told me I was being oversensitive. His friends laughed. On Saturday, I overheard a conversation that made everything crystallize. I'd gone downstairs to get water. The living room light was on, and voices drifted from inside. I stopped in the hallway, hidden in shadow. "Your mum seems fine with everything," Vanessa was saying. "She's being weird," Jason replied. "Too agreeable." "She's finally accepting reality. This house is too much for her. In a few months, we'll suggest she move to one of those senior communities. Then we can make this place our own." "What if she doesn't want to move?" Vanessa's laugh was cold. "Then we make her life uncomfortable enough that moving seems like a relief." "It's not cruel, Jason. It's practical. She's getting older. She needs support. We're providing that support on our terms." "My mum's only 58. "Exactly, which means she could live another 30 years. Do you really want to wait that long to build the life we deserve?" Silence. Then Jason. No, I don't." I went back upstairs without my water, plugged in my laptop, sent Rachel a single message. Stage 1 complete. Her response came immediately. "Good. Now it gets interesting." Monday morning, the inspector showed up at 9. Jason answered the door in his pajamas, confused. "Can I help you?" The inspector, a tired-looking man named Wallace, held up a clipboard. "City Housing Compliance. We have a complaint about unpermitted renovations at this address." "There haven't been any renovations." "Mind if I take a look around anyway? It's standard procedure." I watched from the kitchen as Jason led Wallace through the house. Vanessa appeared on the stairs, perfectly styled even this early, her phone already out to document this intrusion. Wallace made notes, took photos, asked questions. After 20 minutes, he seemed satisfied. "Everything looks fine," he told Jason, "but I do have to issue a formal response to the complaint. The filing showed some concerning details about structural changes that clearly aren't present. I'll note that in my report." "Who filed the complaint?" Jason demanded. Wallace checked his paperwork. "Anonymous tip, but the routing information suggests it originated from," he squinted, "this address. Specifically from an IP registered to a Jason Whitfield." Jason's face went white. "That's impossible." "I'm just telling you what the system shows." Wallace handed him a card. "If you have questions, call the office. Have a good day." After he left, Jason turned to me. "Did you do this?" "Do what?" "File a fake complaint to make me look bad." I blinked, confused. "Jason, I don't even know how to file a city complaint. I thought you had to do it in person." "She's right," Vanessa interjected. "Your mum barely uses email." "There's no way she could navigate the city website." She pulled out her phone. "I'm posting about this. This is harassment. Maybe don't, I suggested gently. It might look like you're trying to hide something. Vanessa glared at me. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just saying, sometimes these things blow over faster if you don't draw attention to them. She ignored me, typing furiously on her phone. I went to the kitchen and made coffee, hiding my smile. By Tuesday afternoon, Vanessa's social media situation had gotten worse. I knew because Barbara mentioned it at lunch, her voice dripping with concern. Vanessa dear, why are people commenting that your sponsored posts are fake? Vanessa looked up from her phone, startled. What? That yoga mat company you're always promoting. Someone posted receipts showing they never paid you. They said you just bought the mat yourself and pretended it was a partnership. That's ridiculous. But Vanessa's face had gone pale. There's more, Barbara continued, scrolling on her own phone. Someone compiled all your follower growth patterns. They're saying you bought fake followers. Is that true? Of course not. But it was true. Rachel had confirmed it weeks ago when I asked her to look into Vanessa's influencer career. Vanessa had been buying followers for 2 years, faking sponsorships, creating an entire fictional empire of brand partnerships that didn't exist. Rachel had simply compiled the evidence and sent it to a few key people in the local wellness community. The community had done the rest. By Wednesday, Vanessa had lost 3,000 followers and 2 real sponsorships. She spent all day on her laptop, frantically sending emails, making phone calls, trying to control the narrative. This is sabotage, she kept saying. Someone's targeting me. Who would do that? I asked innocently, bringing her tea. She didn't answer. Thursday brought a new crisis. Jason came home early from work, his face grey. Vanessa met him at the door. What happened? I've been suspended, pending investigation. Investigation of what? Jason dropped his briefcase. Someone filed a complaint with HR, said I'd been using company funds for personal expenses. They're auditing my accounts. My heart beat steady and calm. This was Rachel's work too. She'd found the discrepancies in Jason's expense reports, dinner charges that were clearly personal, travel receipts that didn't match his work schedule, cash advances that disappeared into his private accounts. She'd packaged it all up and sent it to his company's ethics hotline. Anonymous, of course. That's insane, Vanessa said. You'd never do that. Jason's silence told a different story. Jason, Vanessa's voice climbed. Tell me you didn't do that. It was just a few dinners. Everyone does it. They're blowing it out of proportion. How much? Maybe 5,000 over the past year. Vanessa exploded. $5,000? Jason, they're going to terminate you. They might not. I'll explain. Explain what? That you stole from your employer. She grabbed her phone. I need to call my parents. We need to figure out our options. We have options. My mom's house is paid off. We're living here rent-free. We can manage until this blows over. Vanessa stopped, turned slowly. Are you seriously suggesting we stay here long-term? Why not? She's obviously fine with it. And it's not like she needs all this space. They both looked at me. I'd been standing in the kitchen doorway, listening. Now I stepped forward, wringing my hands. I'm happy to help however I can, I said softly. You're my son. Family takes care of family. Jason's expression softened. Thanks, Mom. Vanessa's didn't. She stared at me with something that looked like calculation, maybe suspicion. But she didn't argue. That night, Frank's model train situation escalated into a full-blown territory war. He'd taken over the entire basement, setting up an elaborate track system that covered every available surface. The trains ran constantly, little whistles blowing at random intervals. The noise was driving Barbara insane. Frank, turn those off, she shrieked from upstairs. I'm working on the scenery. It's 11 o'clock at night. I listened to them argue, lying in my narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, Rachel was coming over for what Jason thought was a family mediation session. He'd suggested it yesterday, saying we all needed to air our grievances and find common ground. I'd agreed enthusiastically. What Jason didn't know was that Rachel was bringing paperwork. Lots of it. The kind of paperwork that looks helpful but actually builds legal walls. The kind that turns temporary house guests into trespassers. I closed my eyes and thought about Tom. What would he say if he could see this? Would he be proud, disappointed? Would he understand that sometimes love means protecting yourself from the people who claim to love you back? The trains whistled downstairs. Barbara yelled again, and I smiled in the dark. Rachel arrived at 10 the next morning with a leather portfolio and her reading glasses. Jason met her at the door, visibly relieved. "Aunt Rachel, thank God. Maybe you can talk some sense into everyone." "That's the plan." Rachel hugged him, patted his shoulder. "Where's your mother?" "Kitchen, making coffee for everyone." I was indeed making coffee, but I was also activating the voice recorder app on my phone, tucked into my apron pocket. Everything from this point forward needed documentation. We gathered in the dining room. Me, Jason, Vanessa, Rachel. Barbara and Frank had conveniently disappeared into the basement. Rachel set her portfolio on the table, folded her hands. "I want to start by saying I'm here as a neutral party. No judgments, no taking sides. I just want to help this family find a solution that works for everyone." Vanessa leaned forward. "The solution is simple. Nora needs to accept that she can't maintain this house alone. We're helping her. She should be grateful." "I am grateful," I said quietly. Rachel made a note. "Jason, how do you feel about the current arrangement?" "Honestly, I think it's working. Mum has company. We're saving money. Everyone wins." "And the long-term plan?" Jason hesitated. "We haven't really discussed long-term." "Maybe we should." Rachel pulled out a document. "I took the liberty of drafting a formal family living arrangement agreement. It clarifies everyone's rights and responsibilities, makes things official." Vanessa tensed. "What kind of agreement?" "Standard stuff. Who pays utilities, maintenance responsibilities, duration of stay. It protects everyone." Rachel slid copies across the table, just so there's no confusion down the line. I watched Jason scan the document. His brow furrowed. "This says the arrangement is temporary, revocable at any time by the property owner." "That's standard language," Rachel said smoothly. "Nora owns the house. She has final say, but it also outlines your rights as occupants. 30 days notice before any changes, for example." "Why do we need this at all?" Vanessa's voice had an edge. "We're family. We don't need legal paperwork." "Actually, that's exactly when you need it," Rachel replied. "Family disputes get messy. This prevents that." Jason looked at me. "Mom, do you really think this is necessary?" I let my voice waver. "I just want everything to be clear. I don't want there to be any misunderstandings later." "About what?" "About anything. About whose house this is. About how long people can stay. About—" I trailed off, playing fragile. Vanessa stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. You're treating us like tenants." "You're not tenants," Rachel said. "Tenants have legal protections. This agreement specifically prevents a tenant-landlord relationship from forming. It actually benefits you." The irony was beautiful. The document was designed to prevent them from claiming squatters' rights or establishing residency. But Rachel had worded it so carefully that it sounded protective. Jason signed without reading the fine print. Vanessa refused. "I'm not signing anything that makes us sound like we're temporary," she said. "We're family. We belong here as much as Nora does." Rachel packed up her papers. "That's your choice, but legally speaking, without this agreement, you're here at Nora's discretion. With it, you'd have 30 days guaranteed." "We'll take our chances," Vanessa said coldly. After Rachel left, the house felt different. Colder. Jason disappeared into the bedroom. Vanessa made phone calls in hushed tones. Barbara and Frank emerged from the basement only for meals. I continued my routine, cooking, cleaning, playing the dutiful host. But that night, I did something new. I went through the house with a camera, documenting everything: the locks they'd changed, the furniture they'd moved, the damage Frank had done to the basement walls installing his train tracks, the way they'd converted my home office into Vanessa's content creation studio. Every piece of evidence carefully catalogued. Rachel had taught me well. Documentation beats, confrontation every time. By Monday, Jason's work situation had deteriorated completely. He came home with a cardboard box containing his desk belongings. Terminated. The audit had found more discrepancies than even Rachel had suspected. Nearly $15,000 in fraudulent expenses over 2 years. "They're not pressing charges," he said dully, "but my reputation is destroyed. No one in this industry will hire me now." Vanessa was surprisingly quiet. I served dinner, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, the kind of comfort food Tom used to love. No one ate much. "What are we going to do?" Jason finally asked. "We'll figure it out," Vanessa said, but her voice lacked conviction. Barbara chimed in from across the table. "You two can always move in with us. Once we find a new place." "You've been saying that for months, Mom," Vanessa snapped. "These things take time." Frank dropped his fork. "Don't start, Barbara." They began bickering. Jason pushed his plate away. Vanessa stared at her phone. And I sat there, watching my plan unfold exactly as Rachel had predicted. People under pressure turn on each other. Always. That Wednesday, Sylvia Monroe struck gold. She knocked on my door at noon, practically vibrating with excitement. "Nora, have you seen the neighborhood Facebook group?" "I don't really use Facebook much," I lied. "Well, everyone's talking about your house. Someone posted that there are 6 people living here now. Is that true?" "My son and his family are staying temporarily." Sylvia's eyes gleamed. "There's also talk about code violations, and something about your son's wife being a fraud." "I wouldn't know anything about that." "Of course not. You're so sweet, Nora. Too sweet, if you ask me. People take advantage." She lowered her voice conspiratorially. "Between you and me, I've heard things about that Vanessa girl. She's not what she pretends to be. I'm sure it's just gossip. Where there's smoke, there's fire." Sylvia patted my arm. "You let me know if you need anything. Anything at all." She left, and I immediately texted Rachel. "Sylvia's spreading it." "Perfect. Let it spread." The social pressure mounted quickly. Neighbors who'd always been friendly started giving Jason and Vanessa cold looks. Someone left a note on their car. "Freeloaders." Vanessa's remaining Instagram followers began commenting on every post, asking why she was living with her mother-in-law instead of in her own home. "This town is toxic," Vanessa announced at dinner Thursday night. "We need to leave, go somewhere fresh, start over." "With what money?" Jason asked bitterly. "Your mother could help." They both looked at me. I set down my fork carefully. "I'd love to help, sweetheart, but my retirement savings aren't unlimited. I need to think about my own future, too." "You have this entire house." Vanessa's composure finally cracked. "You could downsize, sell this place, split the money with Jason. It's only fair." "Fair? He's your son, your only child. This house should be his inheritance anyway. Why make him wait until you're gone?" The mask was completely off now. Jason looked uncomfortable, but didn't contradict her. I stood up slowly. "I think I need some air." I walked out to the back porch and called Rachel. "She just asked me to sell my house and give Jason the money," I said. "Beautiful. Did you record it?" "Every word." "Then we're ready. I'll file the paperwork tomorrow. This weekend, we end it." I looked back through the window at my dining room, at the people who'd invaded my home, my life, my peace. "I'm ready," I said. Friday morning, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I got dressed up. Real clothes, not the shapeless sweaters I'd been hiding in. I did my makeup, fixed my hair. When I came downstairs, Vanessa actually looked startled. Where are you going? Lunch with Rachel. We have some errands to run. What kind of errands? I smiled. Sister stuff. We'll be back this afternoon. Jason barely looked up from his laptop, where he was frantically applying for jobs. Barbara and Frank were arguing in the basement again. Vanessa followed me to the door. Nora, we need to talk about the house situation. We can talk when I get back. No, now. I think we should have a serious conversation about your future, about what makes sense financially. I turned to face her fully. You're right. We should have that conversation. Tonight. I'll make a nice dinner. We'll all sit down together and discuss everything. Really? Really. No more avoiding the hard topics. It's time to be honest with each other. Vanessa's relief was visible. She thought she'd won. I drove to Rachel's office and found her waiting with a stack of papers 3 inches thick. Is that everything? I asked. Everything. The occupancy violations, the property damage documentation, the recordings, the financial records showing Jason's debt, and most importantly, she pulled out a separate folder. A formal eviction notice, pre-signed by you, dated yesterday. All I need to do is file it with the court. An eviction, they're not tenants. Exactly, which means they have 0 legal protections. In Massachusetts, you can remove non-tenant occupants immediately if they're causing property damage or financial harm. I've documented both. She spread photos across her desk. The basement walls Frank had damaged, the locks they'd changed without permission, the converted office space, receipts showing I'd been paying all utilities while they contributed nothing. This is airtight, Rachel said. Once I file this, you'll have a sheriff's order within 48 hours. They'll be removed by force if necessary. My hands shook slightly. It's really happening. It's really happening. But Nora, you need to be ready. Jason is going to be furious. Vanessa will play victim. They'll try every manipulation tactic they have. I know. Can you handle it? I thought about the glass shattering past my head, about Vanessa's cold laugh when she talked about putting me in a home, about Jason's casual cruelty, his assumption that my life's work should be his safety net. Yes, I said. I can handle it. I stopped at the grocery store on my way home, bought all the ingredients for pot roast, Jason's favorite. Tom used to make it every Sunday. The smell would fill the house for hours. Tonight would be the last time I cooked it for my son. When I got home, Vanessa was on the phone in the living room, speaking rapidly in a low voice. She hung up when she saw me. That was my lawyer, she said. Your lawyer? We're exploring our options. You can't just kick family out of your house without cause. I'm not kicking anyone out. Then what was all that talk about being honest tonight? I started unpacking groceries. I meant it. We should be honest. About expectations. About boundaries. About what everyone really wants. What I want is for my husband to get the respect he deserves from his mother. What does respect look like to you, Vanessa? She stepped closer. It looks like you recognizing that Jason is your legacy. That this house, everything you have, it's really his. You're just holding it for him. Holding it. Until you're ready to let go. I met her eyes. What if I'm not ready to let go? Then we'll need to have a different kind of conversation. The threat was barely veiled. I smiled. Dinner at 6. Please make sure everyone's here. The pot roast cooked slowly. The house filled with that familiar smell. Beef, carrots, potatoes, onions. Comfort and nostalgia wrapped into one dish. I set the table carefully. Used the good china, the stuff Tom and I got as wedding gifts. Lit candles. Put out cloth napkins. Jason came into the dining room and stopped. Mom, what's all this? Family dinner. A real one. We haven't done this in a while. It smells amazing. For just a second, he looked like my son again, the boy who used to help me cook, who'd stand on a stool to stir the pot, who'd hug me and say I was the best mom in the world. Then Vanessa appeared behind him, and his expression hardened. Everyone's gathering, she said. Your mother says she has something important to discuss. We sat down at 6 exactly, me at the head of the table where Tom used to sit, Jason and Vanessa on one side, Barbara and Frank on the other. I served the pot roast, poured wine, made small talk about the weather, the neighbors, nothing important. Vanessa's patience broke first. "Nora, you said we needed to talk." "I did." I set down my fork. "I've been doing a lot of thinking this week, about family, about loyalty, about what we owe each other." "And?" Jason prompted. "And I've realized something. I've spent my entire adult life taking care of other people. Tom, you, Jason, my patients at the hospital. I was always so busy being useful that I forgot to be me." Barbara nodded sympathetically. "It's easy to lose yourself in service." "It is, but I'm done with that now." The table went quiet. "What does that mean?" Vanessa asked carefully. "It means I've decided to reclaim my life, my home, my future." I looked directly at Jason. "It means you need to leave." Jason laughed. "Mom, come on, don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic, I'm being clear. All of you need to leave. By Monday." Frank's fork clattered onto his plate. "You're kicking us out?" "I'm exercising my right to determine who lives in my house. And I've determined that I'd like to live here alone." Vanessa's face flushed red. "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. Rachel helped me understand my legal rights. You're not tenants. You have no lease. You're guests who've overstayed their welcome." "I'm your son," Jason's voice rose. "You can't just throw me out. You threw a glass at my head 3 weeks ago. You've taken over my home. You've damaged my property. You've made it clear that you see me as an obstacle to overcome, not a mother to love. That's not fair. Isn't it?" I pulled out my phone, opened the recording app, played the conversation I'd captured 2 weeks ago, Jason and Vanessa discussing how to push me into a care home. Jason's face went white as his own voice filled the room. Vanessa lunged for the phone. "That's illegal." "Actually, it's not. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm a party to. And I was in the house when you said these things." I pulled the phone back. "I have hours of recordings, all of them showing exactly what you think of me." "You've been spying on us." Vanessa's voice was shrill. "I've been protecting myself. There's a difference." Barbara stood up. "Frank, get our things. We're leaving." "Sit down, Mom," Vanessa ordered. "No, I'm not staying in a house where we're not wanted. We'll find somewhere else." "There is nowhere else." Vanessa turned back to me. "You can't do this. We have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you treated my home like a hostile takeover." Jason leaned forward, his expression shifting to something I'd never seen before. Pure calculation. "You realize if you do this, you'll never see me again. I'll be out of your life forever." "I know. You're willing to lose your son over this?" I felt tears prick my eyes, but I kept my voice steady. "I already lost my son. The person sitting here now, I don't recognize him. Tom would be ashamed." Jason flinched like I'd struck him. "Don't you dare bring Dad into this," he said softly. "He's already in this. He left me this house. He worked 2 jobs to pay the mortgage. He wanted me to be secure, safe, and you want to take that away." "I want what's mine." "It's not yours, it never was. It's mine. I earned it." Vanessa stood up, trembling with rage. "You're going to regret this. We'll sue. We'll tell everyone what a horrible mother you are. We'll destroy your reputation." "Go ahead. I have documentation of everything. Rachel's already prepared for that." "Rachel," Vanessa spat. "Of course. Your sister's been poisoning you against us this whole time." "Rachel's been helping me see clearly. There's a difference." I stood up, gathering plates, even though no one had finished eating. "You have until Monday at noon. After that, I'm changing the locks." "You can't change the locks," Jason protested. "Watch me." I walked into the kitchen and started washing dishes, my hands shaking. Behind me, I heard chairs scraping, voices rising, Vanessa shouting something about lawyers. I didn't turn around. I just kept washing dishes, counting breaths, waiting for them to leave the room. When the dining room finally went silent, I allowed myself one small smile. Stage 2 complete. They didn't leave on Monday. Of course they didn't. That would have required them to accept defeat. Instead, Jason spent the weekend making phone calls to lawyers who all told him the same thing. He had no legal standing. Vanessa posted a manifesto on Instagram about elder abuse and toxic mothers. Barbara and Frank packed their U-Haul but had nowhere to drive it to. Monday at noon, I changed the locks anyway. I'd taken Rachel's advice and left the house at 10 that morning, giving them time to gather their belongings. I went to a coffee shop 3 blocks away and waited with my phone, watching the security camera feeds on my laptop. Jason discovered the new locks at 12:15. I watched him try his key, fail, try again. His face went through confusion, anger, disbelief. He pounded on the door. Vanessa appeared beside him, phone out, filming everything for her evidence. My phone rang. Jason. I didn't answer. He called 12 more times. Then Rachel called. They're threatening to break a window, she said calmly. I'm here as a witness. Want me to call the police now or wait? Wait. Let them make the choice. At 12:47, Frank approached the front window with a rock. Now, I said. Rachel made the call. The police arrived in 6 minutes. I watched on my laptop as 2 officers approached. Jason tried to explain, gesturing wildly at the house. One officer shook his head, pulled out paperwork. Rachel had filed the eviction notice Friday afternoon. It had been served Saturday morning while Jason was out. He'd crumpled it up without reading it. Now the officers were explaining it to him very clearly. He had no right to be there. He was trespassing. If he tried to force entry, he'd be arrested. Vanessa was crying. Real tears this time, not Instagram tears. Barbara was arguing with Frank about whose fault this was. And Jason just stood there, staring at my front door, like he couldn't understand how this had happened. I closed my laptop, finished my coffee, drove home. They were gone when I arrived. The U-Haul was gone. The cars were gone. The driveway was empty. I unlocked my new locks and stepped inside. The house was a disaster. They'd taken things. My TV, my laptop from the kitchen desk, some of Tom's tools from the garage. Petty theft, born from spite. I'd expected it. I'd already documented everything valuable with photos and serial numbers. I called Rachel. They took stuff. I know, the officers saw them loading it. It's all on body camera footage. We'll add it to the case if they try to fight back. Will they? Fight back, probably. Win? No chance. I walked through the house slowly, cataloguing the damage. Holes in the walls where Frank had mounted things. Scratches on the hardwood from furniture being dragged. The basement was a disaster of train tracks and torn drywall. It would take weeks to fix, but it was mine to fix. I sat down at my kitchen table, and cried. Not sad tears. Relief tears. I'd done it. The next 2 weeks were busy. Jason tried calling every day for the first 3 days, leaving voicemails that cycled between angry and pleading. I didn't respond. Rachel had advised complete radio silence unless communication came through a lawyer. It did, eventually. Jason hired an attorney who sent a stern letter demanding I return his property and reimburse him for emotional distress. Rachel laughed when she read it. His lawyer is an ambulance chaser from Quincy who specializes in car accidents. He has no idea what he's doing. She drafted a response that politely outlined exactly how Jason had violated property laws, committed theft, and exposed himself to potential criminal charges. The lawyer stopped responding. Vanessa's Instagram became a train wreck of bad decisions. She posted about the eviction, painting herself as a victim. Her remaining followers turned on her, pointing out that you can't be evicted from someone else's house if you weren't paying rent. She deleted the posts, then deleted her entire account. Barbara and Frank ended up in a motel outside Worcester, fighting constantly according to Sylvia Monroe's intelligence network. And me, I hired contractors, fixed the walls, refinished the floors, repainted Jason's old bedroom in soft blue, turned the home office back into an actual office. I also did something I'd never done before. I went on a date. His name was Robert, retired teacher, widowed like me, with kind eyes and a dry sense of humor. We met at a bookstore coffee shop and talked for 3 hours about everything except our families. It was nice. I didn't know if it would go anywhere, but it felt like possibility. Like I could have a life that wasn't defined by being someone's mother or someone's nurse or someone's convenient target. Just me. 3 weeks after the eviction, Jason showed up at my door. I saw him through the peephole. He looked terrible, unshaven, rumpled, tired. I opened the door but kept the chain on. "Mom, please, can we talk?" "We're talking. Can I come in?" "No." He flinched. "I know I messed up. I know I said things, did things. I wasn't thinking clearly. Vanessa was in my head, and her parents were pressuring us, and I just..." He trailed off. "I'm sorry." "Okay. Okay. That's it." "What do you want me to say, Jason? That you forgive me, that we can fix this?" I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, loved, sacrificed for, and felt nothing but tired sadness. "I don't think we can," I said quietly. "You're my mother. And you're my son, but that doesn't mean I have to let you hurt me." "I won't. Not again, I swear." "You swore before, when you were 19 and I bailed you out of your first failed business, when you were 26 and I co-signed your apartment lease, when you were 30 and I paid for your wedding." I shook my head. "Your promises don't mean anything anymore." "What do I have to do to prove I've changed?" "Nothing, because I don't need you to change, Jason. I need you to stay away." His face crumbled. "You can't mean that." "I do. I'm done being your safety net, your backup plan, your emergency fund. I'm done being useful." "That's not what you were to me." "Yes, it was. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I taught you that my love was something you could take for granted. But the lesson's over now." I started to close the door. Jason grabbed the edge. "Mum, please, I'm broke. Vanessa left me. I have nothing." "Then I guess you'll have to figure it out. The way I did when your father passed. The way I've figured out everything else in my life. I can't do it without you. You'll have to learn." I closed the door, locked it, and walked away from his shadow on the other side. That night, I made pot roast, just for me, ate it slowly, savoring every bite, sitting at my kitchen table with a book and a glass of wine. Through the window, I could see Sylvia Monroe walking her dog, probably hoping for a glimpse of drama. I waved. She waved back, surprised, and I smiled. Not a sad smile, not a bitter smile, just a smile. Because tomorrow, Rachel and I were going to Portland for the weekend, a sister trip, museums and restaurants, and absolutely no family drama. The house was quiet. The house was mine. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough. Sylvia's Facebook post appeared Tuesday morning. Major developments at the Whitfield residence. Sources confirm family drama reached its peak. Nora Whitfield has officially reclaimed her home and her dignity. More details to come. I read it over coffee, shaking my head. Of course, Sylvia couldn't resist. But at least this time, the narrative was accurate. Rachel called at noon. "Have you seen the neighborhood gossip?" "Impossible to miss." "Good, let them talk. Public opinion matters more than you'd think. If Jason tries anything else, everyone already knows he's the villain." "Is he trying anything else?" "Not yet. His lawyer dropped him. No one will take his case pro bono. He's effectively out of options." "And Vanessa?" "Last I heard, she moved back to her parents' motel room. Barbara and Frank are being evicted again. It's a whole cycle." I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. "Rachel, do you think I'm a terrible mother?" "No, I think you're a mother who finally stopped letting her son destroy her. It doesn't feel like winning." That's because you're not a sociopath. But Nora, you won. You really did. You set boundaries, you protected yourself, and you taught Jason a lesson he desperately needed. What lesson? That actions have consequences, that you can't treat people like garbage and expect them to keep loving you unconditionally. I sipped my coffee. Do you think he'll learn it? Probably not, but that's not your problem anymore. The contractors finished the basement repairs on Wednesday. I walked through it with the foreman, approving the new drywall, the sealed concrete floor where Frank's train setup had been. Looks like someone did a number on this space, the foreman commented. Family, I said simply. He nodded knowingly. Say no more. After he left, I stood in the empty basement and tried to remember what it looked like when Tom was alive. He'd had a workbench down here, built birdhouses and fixed broken furniture, the smell of sawdust and wood stain. I'd turned it into storage after he passed, let it collect boxes and cobwebs and forgotten things. Maybe I'd turn it into something new, a craft room, a home gym, something just for me. The possibilities felt overwhelming and exciting at the same time. Thursday brought an unexpected visitor. I was gardening, finally reclaiming the flower beds Vanessa had neglected, when a car pulled into my driveway. A woman stepped out, mid-40s, professional attire, kind face. Mrs. Whitfield, I'm Amanda Reeves. I'm a social worker with the State Family Services Office. My stomach dropped. Is this about Jason? In a way. He filed a wellness complaint, claimed you were showing signs of cognitive decline and making irrational decisions. I stood up, brushing dirt off my knees. I see. I'm required to investigate all complaints. May I come in? I led her inside, offered tea, watched as she surveyed the clean, organized house. Mrs. Whitfield, I have to ask some standard questions. Of course. She went through them methodically. My age, my health, my daily routine, my finances, whether I felt safe, whether I needed help managing my life. I answered each question calmly, precisely. When she asked about Jason, I told her the truth. My son tried to take over my house. When I refused, he attempted to have me declared incompetent. This visit is retaliation, not concern. Amanda set down her clipboard. That's what I suspected. I've seen this before. Adult children who see their parents' assets as their inheritance try to accelerate the process. Does the complaint have merit? Mrs. Whitfield, you're clearly competent. Your home is well maintained. You're articulate and informed. And frankly, protecting yourself from financial exploitation isn't irrational. It's smart. She stood. I'll file my report. This complaint will be dismissed, but I'm also going to flag your son's behavior. If he tries this again, there will be consequences. After she left, I called Rachel. He tried to have me declared incompetent. Of course he did. It's the last play in the manipulator's handbook. Did the social worker buy it? Not even a little. Good. Want me to file a harassment complaint? No, I think this is almost over. You sure? I looked around my peaceful, quiet, reclaimed home. Yeah, I'm sure. Friday evening, I met Robert for our second date. We went to a small Italian restaurant in the North End. He ordered wine. We shared stories about our late spouses, Tom and his wife Linda, both gone too soon. Do you ever feel guilty, he asked, for moving on? Sometimes, but then I remember that Tom would want me to be happy. He wouldn't want me to stop living just because he did. Robert nodded. Linda used to say that love isn't finite, that giving your heart to someone new doesn't diminish what you had before. Smart woman. She was, he smiled. You remind me of her. Strong, no nonsense, a little scary. I laughed. Scary? In a good way, like you wouldn't tolerate any garbage. I used to tolerate a lot of garbage. I'm working on that. We talked until the restaurant closed. He walked me to my car and kissed my cheek. I'd like to see you again, he said. I'd like that too. Driving home, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. not the desperate hope of trying to fix broken relationships. Just simple, quiet hope that good things might happen. Saturday morning, the final piece fell into place. A certified letter arrived from Jason's mortgage company. Somehow, despite everything, he'd managed to get a loan, used falsified documents showing me as a co-signer. Now they were coming after me for the missed payments. I called Rachel immediately. "This is fraud," she said after I read her the letter. "Did you sign anything?" "Nothing. I'd never co-sign for him again." "Then he forged your signature. This is actually criminal, Nora, not civil, criminal." "What do I do?" "You file a police report. You submit handwriting analysis. You let the authorities handle it." She paused. "This is it. This is the thing that will put him on the legal radar permanently." I sat with the letter in my hands, staring at Jason's forged version of my signature. My son had committed fraud, used my name, my credit, my identity. Part of me wanted to protect him still. To call the mortgage company, explain it was a mistake, maybe pay the debt to make it go away. But that was the old me. The new me drove to the police station and filed a report. The new me provided documentation. The new me pressed charges. And when the officer asked if I was sure, I looked him in the eye and said, "Absolutely." The investigation moved faster than I expected. By Tuesday, detectives had contacted me for a formal interview. I brought Rachel and every piece of documentation we'd compiled over the past 2 months. The detective, a woman named Torres, with tired eyes and an efficient manner, reviewed everything methodically. "Mrs. Whitfield, this is textbook identity fraud. Your son forged your signature on loan documents, used your social security number without authorization, and created financial liability for you without consent. What happens now? We'll interview him, collect evidence. If the case is as clear as it looks, the DA will likely file charges. This is serious. He could face prison time." Prison. My son. In prison. I must have looked pale because Rachel squeezed my hand. "Nora, you didn't do this to him. He did this to himself." Torres nodded. "Your sister's right. You're the victim here. Don't let guilt make you protect someone who's victimizing you." I signed the statement. Jason was arrested Thursday morning. Sylvia told me about it. She'd seen the police cars. Within an hour, the neighborhood Facebook group was on fire with speculation. I stayed off social media, stayed inside, let Rachel handle the phone calls and doorbell rings. That evening, Jason's lawyer, a new one, court-appointed, called me directly. "Mrs. Whitfield, my client would like to speak with you. He's willing to make restitution if you'll drop the charges." "No. Ma'am, with all respect, sending your son to prison won't help anyone. It'll help me sleep at night knowing he can't forge my signature again. He's made mistakes, but prison? That's extreme. Fraud is extreme. Identity theft is extreme. I'm just responding appropriately." I hung up. Rachel was watching me from the doorway. "You okay?" "I don't know. Am I supposed to be okay with my son going to prison?" "You're supposed to be okay with protecting yourself. Whether he goes to prison or not isn't your decision. It's the justice system's decision. You just told the truth." "It doesn't feel like enough." "What would feel like enough?" I thought about that. What did I want? Revenge? Punishment? Reconciliation? No, I wanted something simpler. I want my house to feel like mine again. I want to wake up without anxiety. I want to stop looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next crisis. Then that's what we work toward. Forget Jason. Focus on you. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for the following week. I didn't attend. Rachel went as my representative, came back with updates. The evidence is overwhelming. Jason's lawyer is trying to negotiate a plea deal, restitution, probation, counseling. The DA is considering it, since it's a first offense. First that got caught, I corrected. True, but Nora, you need to decide something. If he takes a plea deal, he'll admit guilt. That admission can be used in civil court if you want to sue for damages, emotional distress, property damage, all of it. I don't want to sue him. You might change your mind when you see the basement repair bill. I don't want his money. I want him to leave me alone. Rachel pulled out paperwork. Then sign this. It's a no-contact order. If he violates it, he goes straight to jail. No warnings. I signed it. That weekend, I hosted my first dinner party in years. Just Rachel, her husband David, Robert, and me. Simple food, good wine, easy conversation. No one mentioned Jason. No one asked about the case. We talked about books and travel and David's terrible golf game. Robert helped me clean up after, our hands bumping at the sink. "This is nice," he said. "You have a beautiful home." "Thank you. It's been through some wars lately, but it's recovering." "Like its owner," I smiled. "Something like that." Later, after everyone had left, I walked through the quiet rooms and felt something settle in my chest. Peace, not perfect peace, not the absence of problems. Just the solid, steady peace of knowing I'd done the hard thing, the right thing, the thing that protected me. The plea deal was finalized the following Wednesday. Jason pleaded guilty to 1 count of identity fraud. He received 2 years probation, community service, mandatory restitution, and the no-contact order was made permanent. He'd never be allowed to contact me again without risking prison. Torres called to inform me personally. "How are you feeling about the outcome?" "I don't know. Is this what justice looks like?" Sometimes, justice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just boundaries with consequences. After we hung up, I sat in my living room and tried to process it. My son was a convicted criminal now. His life was effectively ruined. No good job would hire him. No bank would trust him. His reputation was destroyed. Part of me mourned for the child he'd been, but most of me felt relieved for the woman I still was. Vanessa called that night from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Nora, please, you destroyed him. Are you happy now?" "I didn't destroy him, Vanessa. I defended myself. He's lost everything, his career, his freedom, his family. He lost those things because of his choices, not mine. You could have forgiven him. You could have been merciful. I was merciful for years. I gave him money, opportunities, unconditional love, and he used all of it against me." I kept my voice steady. "Where were you, Vanessa, when he needed mercy? When did you stand up and say, maybe we shouldn't steal from your mother?" Silence. "That's what I thought," I continued. "You encouraged him, you pushed him, you helped create this situation. So don't call me looking for sympathy. You're heartless. No, I'm just no longer heartbroken. There's a difference." I hung up and blocked the number. That night, I dreamed about Tom. He was in our kitchen making his famous pot roast. The house smelled like home. "You did good, Nora," he said without turning around. "Did I? I destroyed our son's life. You saved your own. That's what I'd want." He turned then, and his face was exactly as I remembered. Kind, strong, real. "I didn't leave you that house so Jason could take it. I left it so you'd be secure, safe. You honored that. I miss you. I know. But you're going to be okay. Better than okay." I woke up crying. But they were good tears. 3 weeks later, life had settled into something almost normal. The basement was finished. The house repairs were complete. The locks were changed. My credit was frozen to prevent any future fraud. And I was fine. Better than fine, actually. Robert and I went on our 5th date, a weekend trip to Cape Cod. We walked the beach, ate lobster rolls, talked about maybe taking a longer trip in the fall. Rachel's intel network reported that Jason had moved to New Hampshire with his tail between his legs, working some low-level job, living in a studio apartment, keeping his head down. Vanessa had disappeared entirely. Deleted all social media. No one knew where she'd gone. Barbara and Frank were in their 4th motel eviction. And me? I was gardening, reading, Going to yoga classes, meeting Robert for coffee, living, just living. Sylvia Monroe stopped me on my morning walk one Tuesday. Nora, I've been meaning to tell you, you look wonderful, absolutely glowing. Thank you, Sylvia. And that man I've seen leaving your house, Robert, is it? He seems lovely. I smiled. He is. You deserve happiness, after everything you've been through. She leaned in conspiratorially. Between you and me, everyone's saying you handled that whole situation perfectly. Your son really showed his true colors. Sylvia, I appreciate your support, but I'd rather not discuss Jason anymore. Of course, moving forward, I completely understand. She patted my arm. You're an inspiration, Nora. Really. As I walked away, I realized something. I didn't need to be an inspiration. I didn't need to be a cautionary tale. I didn't need to be anything except myself. And myself was enough. Rachel came over for dinner that Friday. We cooked together. Salmon, roasted vegetables, a bottle of good white wine. How are you really doing? She asked as we chopped vegetables. Honestly? I'm good. I wake up in my own house. I make my own decisions. No one's trying to manipulate me or steal from me. It's peaceful. Do you miss him? I miss who I believed he was. I miss the son I raised. But that version of him either never truly existed or disappeared long ago. I can't keep grieving someone who's still here, yet refuses to be the person I need him to be. Rachel hugged me. I'm proud of you. For what? For choosing yourself. That's not easy, especially for mothers. You helped make it possible. I just showed you the tools. You did the work. We ate dinner on the back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. What's next for you? Rachel asked. I don't know. Maybe travel. Maybe volunteer work. Maybe just be. I sip my wine. For the first time in decades, I get to decide. No one else's needs, no one else's agenda, just mine. That's terrifying. And exciting. Rachel raised her glass. To new beginnings. To reclaimed endings, I corrected. We clinked glasses as the sun disappeared below the horizon. That night, alone in my quiet house, I did something I hadn't done since Tom passed. I opened the box of his things I'd kept in the closet. His watch, his favorite sweater, the birthday cards he'd given me over the years. I read through them slowly, crying and smiling at the same time. I love you, Nora. You're stronger than you know. Tom, birthday card, 2009. He'd been right. I was stronger than I knew. Strong enough to stand up to my own son. Strong enough to press charges. Strong enough to choose peace over guilt. Strong enough to live. I put the cards back carefully, closed the box. Tomorrow, I'd start planning that trip to Italy I'd always wanted to take. Tomorrow, I'd call the animal shelter about adopting a dog. Tomorrow, I'd keep building this new life. But tonight, I just sat in my living room, my reclaimed, peaceful, mine living room, and breathed. Just breathed. And it was enough. The knock came on a Tuesday evening in October. I was making dinner when I heard it, firm, insistent. Through the peephole, I saw Jason. He looked different, thinner, older, defeated. I didn't open the door. Mum, please, just 5 minutes. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police. You're violating the no-contact order. I know, I don't care. I need to talk to you. Then you'll go to prison. Maybe that's what I deserve. I stood there, phone in hand, looking at this stranger who used to be my son. What do you want, Jason? To apologize. Really apologize. Not because I want something. Not because my lawyer told me to. Because I need you to know that I understand what I did. You forged my signature, stole from me, tried to have me declared incompetent. I know. You threw a glass at my head. His voice broke. I know. Then what is there to apologize for? You can't undo it. I can't. You're right. But I can stand here and tell you the truth. I was a terrible son. I was selfish and cruel, and I treated you like an obstacle instead of a person. And I'm sorry. That's all. I'm just sorry. I watched him through the peephole, saw tears on his face. Part of me wanted to open the door, to hug him, to forgive him. But I'd learned something important these past months. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. I accept your apology, Jason, I said through the door, but I'm still not letting you back into my life. I understand. Do you? Because this is permanent. You're not my son anymore. You're just someone who used to be important to me. I know. Good. Now leave, before I call the police. He stood there for another moment. Then he nodded at the door, maybe knowing I could see him, and walked away. I watched through the window as he got into his car and drove off. Then I called Torres anyway. Jason violated the no-contact order, I told her. Do you want to press charges? I thought about it, about mercy versus justice, about what Tom would want, about what I needed. Just document it. If he does it again, then we'll talk. After I hung up, I finished making dinner, ate it slowly, cleaned up, called Robert and told him what happened. How do you feel? He asked. Lighter, like I finally put down something I'd been carrying for too long. That's good, that's really good, Nora. We talked for another hour about nothing important. His day, my garden, plans for Thanksgiving. We were going to Rachel's this year. After we hung up, I poured myself a glass of wine and went out to the back porch. The October air was crisp, the leaves were turning. My garden readied for winter, and I was ready for the rest of my life. A life without Jason, his needs, his anger, his control. A life that was mine. I raised my glass. I did it, Tom, I whispered. The phone rang. I ignored it. I drank my wine, watched the stars appear. The house was mine. The life was mine. And I had never felt more free.